So the nature of straight line amortization is such that we get the same number for each period. A quarter times 800 amortizable cost, we get 200 every quarter. So as I mentioned in the last video, this is a tally column for amortization. So we have 200 last year plus another 200 this year gives us 400. And then our new book value is 900 minus 400, which is 500. So the accumulated amortization column is going up steadily, and the asset book value column is going down steadily over time, which is what we want. Next year will be 600. This will drop down to 300. And finally, we'll have our amortizable value reached with 800 gone, and our asset book value is now its salvage value at 100. Moving on to units of production. This method allocates a fixed amount of amortization to each unit of output produced by the asset. The equation for UOP amortization per unit of output is cost minus salvage value at the top, and the denominator is estimated useful life in units of production. So it's actually quite similar to straight line. You still have the same denominator. At the bottom, you estimate how many units of output will be produced by a certain asset. So for a machine, it could be number of products, or it could be number of hours that the machine runs. For a vehicle, it could be number of kilometers. So let's try another example. On January 1st, 2019, the bookstore purchased a used truck for $21,000. It's going to be used for transporting inventory. The bookstore will use this truck for 5 years, at which point it will have a salvage value of $1,000. The total expected usage is 100,000 kilometers. The units of production amortization per unit of output is, so first of all, we're not concerned with 5 years at this point. We're only worried about 100,000 kilometers. So let's set the formula up again. Historical cost is 21,000. Expected salvage value is 1,000. So we have one estimate up here and one real number. At the bottom we have an estimate of 100,000 kilometers. And that should give us 20 cents per kilometer. So for each kilometer driven by the truck, we amortize 20 cents. Now we don't necessarily do it every time we drive a kilometer or even every time we make a trip, but typically we make our adjusting entry for amortization at the end of a month or a quarter or even year. The number of kilometers driven each year is shown in the table below. For simplicity's sake, let's prepare this amortization schedule by years and not quarters. Once again, we have our initial asset cost of 21,000. If you want to put the date in, you can go ahead and do that. In fact, I will. So in the first year, the truck is driven 19,000 kilometers. We have our rate. It stays consistent all the way down here. And then we have 19,000 the first year. We go $0.2 per kilometer times 19,000 kilometers. We get amortization of 3,800. our accumulated amortization column jumped from 0 to 3,800. And then finally, this number comes off the asset book value. So we paid 21,000 for the truck. After 1 year, it shows up on our books, and the net amount after taking away amortization is 17,200. So I'll give you a couple minutes here, and you can try this question. We'll continue here in the same video. So one thing you want to know here is that the estimate when we're calculating our amortization rate ended up being dead on. After 5 years, the truck ends up driving exactly 100,000 kilometers, and we end up with accumulated amortization of 20,000 and asset book value of 1,000, which was our salvage value. This is rarely ever the case. Right? For this example, I kept it simple, so everything worked out perfectly. What you're going to see is that when things don't work out, for example, if you're in your final year and you have amortization that leaves the asset book value above the salvage value, you put in a plug number. So you put in some extra amortization to bring the asset book value down to salvage value. Always remember that the amortization rate was an estimate. We don't expect it to be dead on like we saw it here. On the other hand, if you're in your last year and your amortization is more than expected for the 5 years, so your asset is going below its salvage value, once again, you want to cut down your amortization in that end there to get it down to exactly salvage value. So we'll get some experience with a plug number later on in these notes. But remember that for now, that we don't want to go beyond our salvage value, or we don't want to leave a number above our salvage value either. You want to be right on it. Double declining method, also known as DDB. This method computes amortization by multiplying an asset book value by a constant percentage, 2 times the straight line amortization rate. The DDB rate is computed as follows. So no matter how much I stress this, students make this mistake every semester, and that is just calculating the first step of what the DDB rate should be. You want to take your straight line rate, and you want to multiply by 2. It's trickier than it sounds, so let's go through it. Step 1. Compute the straight line amortization rate per year. As an example, let's revisit our truck example. The books are expected to use the truck for 5 years. Therefore, the straight line rate is 1 over 5. So 1 divided by 5 years, which works out to 20%. Multiply the straight line rate by 2 to get the DDB rate. In a truck example, we go 20% times 2 to get a DDB rate of 40%. So 1 over 5 works out to 20%. Multiply by 2, we get 40%. Compute the year DDB amortization. Multiply the asset book value, cost less accumulated amortization at the beginning of the year by the DDB rate. The salvage or residual value is ignored, except in the final year. So, just to pause here for a second. If you pay $21,000 for the truck, to start off this next table for DDB, you simply take 21,000 times 40%. We don't worry about the salvage value at the start. We only worry when we hit it or we're at the end of the amortization schedule. So here we have a calculation for the truck's first year amortization. It's pretty straightforward. You have the asset book value at that time, $21,000, times the DDB rate of 0.4. So it's 21,000 because we haven't recorded any amortization yet. So it's just the historical cost minus 0. So when we do that calculation, we should get 8,400. The same approach is used for all of the following years of truck use, except for the last year. In the last year, a plug figure is used to amortize the asset down to its salvage value. The formula for the plug number is asset book value at the beginning of the final period minus salvage value. So this formula is a little bit misleading. It is possible to hit the salvage value in the second last period, or even before that. So keep an eye out on it, right? You don't have to worry about salvage value at the start, but the moment you start getting close, you want to make sure you don't amortize past the salvage value or leave a significant amount in the final period, or any amount in the final period above the salvage value. So we're going to go ahead and build another amortization schedule for the DDB method. This is a good place to stop the video. We'll continue with this in the next clip.